Hi everybody, Jeff Geisinger here. Today I have some special people with me to interview. These are relatives of mine. It's okay that it's only by marriage. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Bret and Tracie. Hey guys, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey.
So the reason why I asked you to stop by and say hi, so a lot of people talk about this whole idea of living in an RV, and from what I understand, you're living the dream. How did you get the idea to do this?
Wow, yeah. In 2012, we took advantage of an opportunity that I had through work, as my employer was offering this deal where if I took some unpaid time, they would pay me for a portion of it, like not full salary. So we took off 8 weeks one summer in 2012 to travel around the West with our 3 kids who were aged
2012, 11, and 12.
11 and 12, there you go. And we went like 8,000 miles, we saw 12 national parks, and at that moment we said, okay, we want to do this full time with our kids.
Kids were totally on board with it.
They were totally on board. All three of them. But
no.
That's right.
We had to keep capturing our daughter and stuffing her back in the trailer because she kept trying to get away from us.
We were in Moab, Utah, and she said, I'm flying home. We said, really?
I'm gonna go see Grandma.
But anyway, we survived that trip, but we said we really want to do this with our kids and we want to travel. And time kind of got away from us, and then the first one got into high school, and then it wasn't going to happen.
Well, it took a while. We didn't have jobs back then where we could just pick up and leave.
That's right.
And working remotely was really not something that was common back then.
It wasn't as easy in 2012 as it is today.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
And everybody thought we were crazy. And honestly, at the time, we were traveling with 3 middle school kids in a 19-foot trailer being pulled by a Ford Flex.
Yeah.
With a standard poodle.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt. I hear that you have a name for that Ford Flex in the trailer.
Yep, the Ford Flex was Lewis, and the trailer was Clark. And we had a website called On the Road with Lewis and Clark.
That website still exists, actually.
Yeah,
really?
And it was just a travel log of our adventures on the road.
On the road with LewisandClark.com.
So when we got home, the kids, except for our daughter, were all on board. But we didn't have jobs that would allow us to do this. And so in the amount of time it took us to kind of change jobs and prepare and get the trailer that we thought we would want, the kids actually started high school, kind of found their friend group, and decided, they really didn't want to go on the road full time. So we delayed the plans until they actually were done with high school.
And then we started putting our ducks in a row. I had to do a little bit of work with my job. I've got a regular full-time job. She's an online entrepreneur. So I had to start conditioning my employer to let me work remotely more and more often. And eventually I got a full-time remote job working for a company in Denver while living in Minneapolis. So now I'm there. I've got the holy grail. I can work on the road. And so when our last kid left home in 2017, we looked at each other and said, let's do this. And we sold all of our stuff, and we rented our house to a long-term renter. We had a 3-year rental with our renter. We bought a trailer and a truck, and we hit the road.
Okay, so to start the process, so you did the trial run vacation with the kids. You had 3 kids, and I've heard 2 dogs, standard poodles.
No, we only took one with us.
No.
One standard poodle.
In the first trip we only had one.
With Lewis and Clark.
The dog.
He didn't like to travel, remember? He stayed with Grandma and Grandpa.
Oh, he didn't come with.
He must not have been my favorite dog.
Well, you were not his favorite person either, so it worked out perfectly.
So you had this trip, you saw that this could really work, you rented out your house, you sold all your stuff. How did you decide on what trailer and truck to get?
We looked for trailers for about 3 years, like it was a job. We knew we wanted a 5th wheel, and a 5th wheel is a type of trailer, so we pull it behind a truck. But there are 2 types of travel trailer. There are 2 types of trailers. Travel trailers, which hook up to a bumper or a trailer hitch, is the more traditional. And then a 5th wheel is a trailer, but it has a portion of the trailer that fits over the bed of the truck and has a gigantic hitch that fits into the bed of the truck. And that's what we have. But when we first started looking, we looked at everything. We looked at Class A's, which are the types of motorhomes that you drive. Class A's, B's, and C's are all drivable.
So with the actual engine and the driving area all in one vehicle.
Yep. And the reason we decided not to do that is because we were both still working, and we still are, but we needed a lot of space so that we could both be working at the same time inside if we needed to. The ideal is that one of us is usually working outside. We have a portable office that we set up outside, but we needed to both be able to be inside and taking calls and have some quiet space. And so the only thing that offered that type of space for us was a 2-bedroom fifth wheel trailer. And so that's what we bought. But we toured hundreds of units over years.
If in 2012 the seed was sown, because we traveled, and we said, we want to do this. And it wasn't until 2015 that we said, okay, let's start making it a reality. Let's start working on it and figuring out how we're going to make it work. We knew that in 2013 and 14, it wasn't going to work. Kids are going to high school. But we could see that someday it would be. So 2 years earlier, or 3 years earlier, we started researching, going to the RV shows.
Our hobby was looking at RVs.
Planning out floor plans. Okay, I'm going to have a job where I need to have conference calls. I need an office. And so, as she said, we looked at hundreds of different floor plans and types. We said, this is the floor plan we need. And then we found the manufacturer that made it. Jayco made this one model, and nothing else ever came along that was better than that. And when we finally saw the finish line of the last child leaving home, by that point we knew exactly what we were going to buy, because we knew that there was nothing else around. I think we'd seen every model by every manufacturer.
We'd go to camping shows, and when you're going in and out of RVs, there's always steps involved. We'd go to camping shows, and we'd go into so many RVs that our butts would be sore the next day for the amount of stairs that we did. I mean, we
Got the
really
leg
took
workout.
this seriously. Yeah. And the reality is, we actually, when the kids were going to travel with us, we had a completely different trailer picked out.
Oh, yeah.
And it had a great big bedroom for the kids, and like its own living space and everything. But then when the kids decided not to travel with us, and we were doing our own thing, this was our second choice for the type of trailer that we needed. And as it turns out, it is now, every manufacturer is making this model. It's called the 377RLBH. That's what Jayco calls it. It has
Rear living bunkhouse.
Yep, it has a mid-bunk, a second bedroom bunkhouse in the middle. Almost every manufacturer makes it because it is such a popular model.
Yeah, it's a really good, smart, well laid out floor plan to maximize having separate spaces in a RV.
So that's the question that I always have, and I don't know if other people have it, but I always have this question is, it's a big, for an RV it's big. For a house, it's a little on the tight side. What happens when you need a little extra space?
Yeah, well, there's a couple answers. There's the adult, fun time space, which we don't have to worry about because we don't have any kids with us. But that is a serious question for families with kids.
Sure.
And how that works.
And we don't even know because we never had to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about that, so we're not going to go into that question.
But good that you brought it up. But what we always said was, people would say, don't you get sick of each other? And the reality was, when we first started out, Brett was traveling about 50% of the time. And traveling away from the RV. So I would be parked somewhere, reasonably safe in some urban area near an airport or whatever, so he could fly out.
And I'd be on a beach in Miami.
No, but he'd be flying out and working. But then COVID hit. His campgrounds closed down, so we were kind of stuck in Tucson. And it was, March, and quickly got very, very, very hot in Tucson. They had their earliest 100-degree day ever while COVID was happening. And that meant that we couldn't work outside like we typically did. So we do have, it's called a clam. It's a 6-sided, really large screen house where we set up as an office for one, and we take turns.
Like a tent.
Like a
Yeah,
tent,
it's a tent.
yep. And we take turns working out there. And when COVID hit and it got that hot, we couldn't, not only could Brett not travel, so we were together 100% of the time, we lost our outdoor office. And so it was all of us, or it was both of us all of the time with our 2 poodles, because we did have 2 poodles, in a basically 450 square feet.
Right.
But we did okay. I think like everybody, I think no matter how big your space was, everybody had an adjustment. And so for us, our adjustment was into 450 square feet, but we were used to, relative to that size. We were used to a little bit more space. It's just like a family was used to their house.
And you get flexible. You know,
Yeah.
I remember many days you'd have, you were working with a team and you'd have like essentially an all-day event with your team. You'd go to the bedroom.
Yeah, I did a lot of calls.
Go to the
in
bedroom, close the door, turn on the air conditioner, and she's got her own private space. I don't even know what's going on in
Yeah.
there. And my office was in that mid-bunk bedroom. I had a door. I could close that off, and there's some sound insulation. And sometimes, well, the other thing that happened is I started taking a lot more walks. You know, because A, the dog needs to walk, and B, it's time to be out and alone.
Listening to podcasts
Yeah,
or doing
yeah,
whatever.
just get some time to myself.
Yep.
So we learned to live with it.